So good afternoon, everyone. So I will speak about people and skills, enablement. Basically, I will start right away with what was my observation for 2022, and what I observed mainly, by being one of them, is actually that I observe a major rise of platform engineering. What is platform engineering? That's the purpose of the talk, so you'll see why. But we do really believe that this trend will amplify with years and with actually the momentum that the data mesh paradigm is gaining on the market. So you've seen from Gerge just now that actually data is a product that everyone in the company should build. Like data is everyone's responsibility. I would add to this, at least if everyone is empowered to do so. It's not only about you knowing that it's your responsibility, how do you actively do that? But actually, what is empowering people for data in 2022? And what I want to do is to summarize that around actually the purpose of a platform engineer. So a platform team purpose, I would say, summarizing 2 dimensions. The first one, giving people the tools for them to be effective, for them to reach their goal. This is all the part about infrastructure and IT tooling. And then you have the second part, which is making sure that those people are able to reach their goal with those tools, know how to use their tools and know how to leverage them. So let's have a zoom on those 2 points separately. And first, I want to start by a de-zoom about IT infrastructure and tooling. Do you know what those 3 numbers are? Actually, those are dates, so we don't go too far. What do you think those are, those 3? Yes, Oliver knows. An ID? Yes, Pascal knows, I know also. Yes? Okay, you found it. So you should have expected, but it works still. My pitch still working. So it's indeed the first version of the public cloud providers, and you see that those things are not so new. 16 years ago, 14 years ago, 11 years ago for GCP, you see that it's actually been 10 years at best that those things are out, and still I don't feel that we have understand all the lessons and all the designs that were behind it. But still, those things were a big thing. Why so? Because back in the days, corporate on-premise infrastructure was something like this. They were heavy to plan, a lot of plannings. We need a new rack, a new server, new people to operate it, cables. Expensive to operate on own. You need room, you need space to do that, and hard to scale. And then something big happened, release of the first version of the cloud providers, and then, wow, you can rent a VM by the hour on the internet. You need nothing, just click a button, call an API, and that's it, you have it. That's something huge. But still, I think most of us missed the point at the time. We didn't understood that the very own nature of the cloud is in self-service, is the fact that you don't need someone to put an hard drive in your cupboard. You can just, with an API, get a VM for you to play and for you to innovate and for you to try new things. Instead, what we did is that just shifting and lifting our way of working and way of doing from the pre-cloud era to the cloud era. So we just said, okay, everything we do on premise, let's do the same on the cloud. We are the IT, we know what we do in the end. So we start having people that indeed get used to cloud storage like this. And even better, people start doing IAT. You probably know what ISC is, and I'm sure you know what IAT is as well. It's infrastructure as a Jira ticket. So, which is also called the autonomous layer, because I can promise you that if you need to request a VM via Jira ticket, it's probably highly likely that you won't work at all. You need to ask it, and then you get an IP back, and then you can log, but miss the key, and then you raise a new ticket to put your SSH key, but too bad, it's the bad SSH key, and you goes again, and then 15 days has passed, and your will to innovate as well. So what people ended up doing with this, simply shadow IT, just, yes, let's put my credit card, my corporate credit card, in the stuff and deploy a VM under the desk. No one knows about it. Even better, IT doesn't know about it, so that I don't have to comply. And so people can start innovating again. So you see that people are looking for self-service. Shadow IT is a big thing because you know from those big names of studies that it's between 30 and 50% of the cost of IT organizations. So it's not something you want to have. You want to bring those people that are in the shadow back in the light. You want to make them comply again and at best help them. Because the last thing you want is to give them this. You don't want to give them a powerful speed car with a powerful sport car with a speed clamp on it. But what I see these days is still a lot of organization having a shiny Azure, but like nothing able to deploy. Like people are not able to deploy anything, or at least don't want to work with it. So that's the first lesson of my 2 points. Don't block self-service in your organization. Simply trust your people. Can sound a bit silly like this, but still something that you want. You want to put the trust in the people that know how to do things. Let them do things. And then I hear you saying, but we are the IT. It's our responsibility to know what is happening in our organization. We need to control, we need to secure, we need to build bridge. Yes, probably. But what I want also to remind you is that controlling is very different than enabling, which is also very different than govern. What you should do instead is to make sure that you can monitor things, make sure that you can observe how things are going on your IT and that you know what is going on. With shadow IT anyway, you don't know what's happening. Make sure that you can teach people how to do things and make sure that you can drive best practices with outreach and just making sure that people know what are the best practices in that field. So that's the first point for tooling. Now, let's say that people have the tool and can work by themselves. They are empowered, they can deploy a VM if they want. Second things, how can they use that? How can they work with it? How can you make sure that people know and are empowered to do things? We are quite used for those organizational pyramid stuff where you have 2 teams. You basically have the IT on the left and you have the business on the right. Then we have made some kind of progress there. We know that some books like Team Topologies, Agile generally said that we need to mix people together so wonderful things will happen. You start mixing people from IT, from the business in stock, purchase, promotion, a use case-oriented team. You let them gather, still people that have the same kind of hobbies, you let them gather in the community of practices, and it should work. But if you let that with it, without any kind of governance or anything, there is still something missing. That will make that in the end, you will end up with a Django. Why? Because every team working specifically in his own island will end up making what they think is the best. Some teams are pragmatic, some aren't. And actually, it's quite normal that you will end up with a lot of different technologies, landscape, and services in all those teams. If you look at how many AWS services exist at the time I wrote this, we were around 200. If you don't make a way of governance, you can make sure that you will end up with the 200 services in the 4 teams there. So what do you need to make sure that you can have a kind of a layer of governance is a platform team. A platform team which is expected to be transversal to the different team and whose goal is basically to make sure that developers have a smooth experience from ideation to productionization of their product. Their mission is basically outreach for best practices, putting in place some enablers, accelerators for the team, also working embedded into the teams to start maybe to kickstart some movement or momentum in the other team. So this is what the platform is all about, helping that and putting a bit of a scope or acceleration of the stuff. Now the whole question is about where should the platform be? How close should it be from the feature team? And there, I don't have an answer, I tell you upfront, but I will show you 2 extremes, which are basically 2 pitfalls you can fall in. The first one, put the platform very far from the feature team. What you will end up with, and I can bet you that, you will end up with very futuristic cities with engineers doing rocket science thing, like a lot of things, very shiny, challenging on paper. Engineers will always find problems to solve anyway. But in the end, that's a very futuristic city. No one's going to use it, nor knows how to use it. Worse, you will end up with COPS. So back to the era of on-premise, now you will still have now platform engineers that says, you need to tag all your resource in the cloud. That's what needs to happen. You need to tag your resource in the cloud, or you don't follow our best practices. So you want those people not to be COPS. You want them to be advocates and help other people, not control them. It's not fun for the feature team. It's not fun for the platform team either. Second extreme, fully embed the platform into the teams. What you may experience there is that platformers will work only on the feature and will lack of focus to build that generation and to build that generalization platform that should help and should create new team. You will have those people directly embedded into the team, working on the problem, fixing the problem, but then they will probably lack of that degree of generalization on the problem. So they're lacking of focus. So where should you put the platform team? Well, probably you should find your way. It depends on the maturity of your people on board. It depends on who you have in those teams. It depends on who you have on the platform. A lot of dimensions and a lot of degrees of freeness are happening there. What is the right way is probably your way, but I would advise you to start close. So to start in this mode. Why so? Because there you will have the platform as part of the team. They won't be cops as of day one. They will be able to start generalizing stuff right away. They will kickstart momentum. You will have quick wins. And then progressively, you can make sure that this platform team factorize itself out of the team and start building for the broader organization. So there it's probably good to start close and progressively take a bit of distance while operating broadly. In the end, never stay too far from the customer. What is important in the end to understand is that what you build as a platform team is a golden path for the other. You build for the developers a path that they can follow, made of resource from very low maturity resource like low-level cloud setup, templates, training and brain as a service, internal consultancy, to more high maturity level like utility tools, CI/CD, CLIs that people can use, and even in the end, why not just tutorials and tech radars? We do like those technologies. Please take them. Here is a tutorial on how to deploy a DB. Now do your stuff. What is important there is that people are encouraged to follow this because we know that as a platform team, we can provide a huge support for this. You don't control them and you don't prevail them to go to the bush. If people want to go to the bush because they want to do Shiny, Kafka, something, and then they are just the only team to do Kafka things, then fine, they can go there. What is important as of the day is that all the team will be accountable for the result and the products that they expose in the data mesh. If they follow this, we can propose support. If they don't follow this, then they should better be ready or spend a bit of time to maintain their stuff. For the people that have been exploring this, it's cool because they are front runners also. They explore new patterns that maybe tomorrow will be part of the golden path. So you also want them to let them go and just innovate. So the tech radars is the real essence of the platform team. And this leads me to my second conclusion. Don't build a data platform that no one will ever use. You don't want a big cathedral. You want something that builds iteratively. Instead, treat your platform as a data product. It needs marketing. It needs evangelization. It needs people that are there to defend it and show. Don't just put technical efforts into this. So on all these points, platform engineers have a key role to play, and I hope my demonstration was strong enough. This also mainly lead me to the conclusion of this whole talk about data, the trends in data in 2022. What we have speak a lot about is enablement. Enablement with easier to use data tools like dbt, going close to the SQL and going close to what people knows in the companies. Enablement with a decentralized operating model, make people responsible for this stuff, make them in place to promote and have something that they can show to the rest of the world. And finally, make sure that you have a team taking care of this. It shouldn't happen by itself. You should have a team taking care of the developer experience there. In the end, if I had just a single advice to say about what we think in 2023, make sure you enable your people. And that's it. Thanks.